Welcome to IHMC. That's COLA for those of you that are from out of town. Jean has been on the IHMC board since we went independent. IHMC is a computer science research institute that works on technologies that help people perform their jobs better. And we were part of the University of West Florida in 2003. Some legislation was passed to make us an independent research institute. And when the board was appointed by the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and the Governor, Gene Franklin was on my inaugural board and has been a great board member. So whenever he wants to do anything at IHMC welcomes him. We do have parking across the street, that lot, so if anybody's parked on the street and you take a break and you want to move into that lot, that's fine. There's also parking behind us. If you get a chance sometime during the day, we just built with the board's help and everything, we just built a new research facility behind us, and you're welcome to take a tour of that as well. Anything we can do to make your stay here better, please ask us, and I hope you have a wonderful meeting.
I'm going to be running up and down all day, so bear with me. Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce a man of extraordinary talent, a man of many talents. 27 years United States Navy captain, businessman extraordinaire, okay? But most important for me is he's a Christian. Because if you're not comfortable with faith in here, you're going to find there's a lot of us in here. But our faith is what combines. And it doesn't make any difference what faith you are. I want to be clear. We are all inclusive. Okay? So if you got issues, I'm sorry. We're all inclusive. But our faith is the common denominator. And why faith is important, because when we talk about culture, that's where it comes from. It comes off of your faith beliefs. So you're going to hear references here in faith. If you're uncomfortable, apologize, but that's who we are. And that's why I said we have a combination that is where we are connected by our soul, our spirit. And the work that we're doing is not for money. We're called to this work. And so we are a unique organization, even though we are a Chamber of Commerce. Our faith is what connects us, because it's not about the money, and it's about giving and sharing. Whether you be a member or not, we're not worried, okay? We're not looking for your money. We're not trying to take what you got. We got ours, you got yours, but we can make a good gumbo if you put your stuff in the pot, okay? You put your stuff, and if you bring chicken and drop it in the pot, I cannot say nothing if you eat chicken. Okay? Does that make sense? That's the concepts that we're going to be talking about, because through these concepts is how we're going to rebuild the walls in our community. That's the only way it can be done. Nothing that involved people of African descent in progress was ever achieved without a person of faith being a leader. Civil War, Abraham, there you go. Civil rights, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Reverend Doctor. We always drop the Reverend. But no, the Reverend Doctor. We still dreaming. He saw visions of the mountaintop and where we are going. It's our job to continue that work. Climb the mountain. If you don't want to climb the mountain, you can stay in the valley, but people of faith don't climb that mountain, because that's where visions are given. That's where you really know your potential. So at this time, Mr. Frank Smith.
Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome.
So how we doing? Great. So I need to see a show of hands of how many people are actually from out of town. Not well,
Yeah, where's the logo?
I'm a local. Let's give it up for them. Let's give them a round of hands. Arkansas is a great
I'll
city.
rest my case.
I know a lot of you know Gene. I look forward to actually getting to know you. Harry, it's good to see you. See Harry come out to a lot of these, also Bob, good to see you come out. Major Powell, I saw you pop in here this morning. Yeah. And Pastor Powell. Yeah. Well, thank you. It's good to see you. I remember you from the Robert Johnson ceremony. You had a lot of great things to say there. And so I know you're gonna have a lot of great things to contribute. And I'm just blown away with the turnout and also with the quality of people that's actually here. I just named a few. I got a chance to talk to Jerry this morning for a few minutes, got a chance to talk to Bo, So you go from the senior leadership to the youth leadership. There's a lot of great things that got to say. My job here is to make sure that everybody's welcome and make sure everybody have a great time, and also to make sure that you get connected and get the things that you want to get from this particular conference. Now, a little bit about the connection with Gene, because a lot of people wonder, how did Gene and I get connected? Well, of course, it's former sailors in the United States Navy. So, while I was in, the last job I had was at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola. And I was there for 4 years. And I had the opportunity to watch some of the things that was happening out in the town to take and help out the local community and improve some of the poverty-stricken areas. And the person that kept surfacing, popping up all the time, the leader, was Gene Franklin. So this is one of the things I wanted to do when I come out there. So I was in Pensacola, I'd like to retire here and go out and give something back to the community. In order to give something back to the community, you actually got to be down in the community, living in the community, working in the community, to understand what's going on and what you're getting out of the community. Well, this man has been down there doing that. And he's still in there today, doing the same thing down at Belmont Village. So I said, why reinvent the wheel? I'll just join what Gene's doing. So we had a mutual friend named David Ford that introduced us. And then that was back in 2003. And here today, 14 years later, we're still working together. So when we met in 2003, Gene was actually working on Michigan Avenue, and he had Franklin Mortgage Company. He was doing a lot to help people achieve the American dream of getting home, becoming a homeowner. And these were people that thought they couldn't afford to get a home. So that was very moving and touching, because he helped so many people out there. And then he's like, well, I've been called. Well, you've been called to do what? He said, well, I got this calling because I got to start another organization. He was already working with the African American Chamber here, and he was involved in getting that started up, right, and turn that over to the community. And then next, he said, well, I got to do more because it's something different. So that was this organization. Gene, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I know you're probably going to talk about it, right? It's called SUNETA. Yeah. And it's called the Christian Multicultural Economic Development Alliance. And so I watched him put that together. And Gene is a rebel, right? He's a lion. Gene. So in his office, he had this, all this memorabilia, and he had this replica of a lion that was in there, right? And at the top of everything that he was doing was God. And I knew then that he was for real. And I knew then that this was my calling to get in there to help him out. So we started from SUNETA and the other organizations. About a year later, before the Black Chamber, was actually developed. And then we had the National Cultural Heritage Tourism Center and all the Cultural Heritage Tourism Society. I know a lot of you have been involved in it. Appreciate everything that you've been doing to be involved in it and to take it to the next level. And so what I've done over the years is serve in different leadership positions. And Carolyn Ford is the former chair, yes, for the Florida Black Chamber. And Carolyn, appreciate everything that you did, to get us up to where we are. And turned over a great organization to myself. And I'd like to thank God for allowing me to be the chairman of this organization. I look forward to a lot of things that we're going forward. And again, I thank you for introducing me to Gene. We got a lot of things that we're going to be doing. As you look forward, you got to have a team in order to deal with. And if you're ever going to become great and successful, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have the team that's going to be behind you to help you do that. And it's a team of people that's know what they do. I can't stand up here and teach you anything, you know, but I can help you by coaching and mentoring. I know a little bit about culture, economics. I had the opportunity to go to the National Defense University, and it's called now, there's a school called the Eisenhower School, and it's a school of strategy. And so they study the grand strategy for the United States of America. And then they study the grand strategy globally. And so in that grand strategy, they have a national military strategy, and they have a national economic strategy. And so on the economic side of the house, I had the opportunity to learn about both the haves and the have-nots. And so I can bring that to the table, you know. And so a lot of great discussions about their fighting capability, and so on and so forth. You know, so I look forward to sharing there. And if there's some problem solving that needs to take place, you know, I can help out with that, coaching, mentoring, you know, those types of things, so on and so forth. So again, welcome, Gene. Thanks for having me. I appreciate again God putting me in the position to be the chairman, and I look forward to having a great day.
At this time, I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves. I don't do no stinking name tags. I don't do no stinking name tags. If you want to know somebody, go up to them, introduce yourself, and shake their hand. But I'm going to let you, and it's always scary at a conference, who you are, your organization, and where you're from. Because this is a partnership. I'm not your boss. I don't own what you got. Don't want. I got enough stuff for myself. But we would like you to state your name. I'm going to pass the mic. Now, don't make me jump over this table and pull a mic from you. Okay? Okay. I can jump like a lion, he told you, okay? But I'm going to pass the mic, who you are, where you at. And then that allow. But first of all, let me do something. All ministers are people of the gospel, please stand. All ministers. I want y'all to see the flavor. Okay. All right. That's a hard thing sometimes to get to these kind of conferences. Okay? And we got some more coming. Okay? That's a hard thing to get. And we don't insert it, but it's set in the side. And when you look at our organizational schedule, you'll see how the faith part inserts itself, okay? But the organization is important. So we're gonna start with my good friend.
Thank you, sir. Bob Foster. We live here in Pensacola, where I grew up. Been involved for 4 years. Came back about a year ago. Grew up in the Marine Corps. And didn't know I was poor. I run a veterans business accelerator where I teach veterans how to start or grow their company. I don't charge them any money, and I don't take any federal funds.
Amen. Woo!
That's it. The reason I'm here.
Ain't no money.
I'm going to tell on the line. The reason I'm here was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I'm trying to get back here, trying to find a job to get back here. And I was reading the paper, and I saw that Dr. Franklin had been thrown out of the council chambers. And I said, now that's a man I want to meet.
Good morning, my name is Perry Wilkes. I'm from Perry, Florida. Who knows what I did? Who doesn't? You get votes, you just don't care. Anyway, my first trip to Pensacola was 50 years ago for Navy flight training. I know I don't look that old, but loved it. And God put Gene Franklin, my friend, and I together on a couch waiting to talk to Buzz Ritchie one day. I don't even remember how many years ago. It's been a great friendship since. Wellness Associates, I'm in the health and wellness business, and I'm just excited to be here with y'all.
Good morning. I am Medhat Miski. I'm from Panama City, Florida. Actually, I'm born in Egypt, Alexandria, Egypt. I lived and I came here almost 45 years ago. And I'm an urban designer, architect in Panama City. I have my company, Design Art Studio. And I met Mr. Franklin 2 years ago while we're doing the study for downtown CRA North for the cultural heritage tourism district, and really he was giving us a lot of help. He took us for a tour here, and the study is online, and really he gave us a lot of help, and I really appreciate that. And I'm having two children, very beautiful two girls, and they are one professor in Washington University in St. Louis, and I have the other in Tampa, and she's educated also in education. I am very glad to belong to this Mr. Franklin, group, and I feel that you are really heading to the right direction. I am from very, very historical country, Egypt, and actually I was in last November, I was giving lecture to AIA over there about how to preserve the history of Cairo and markets and areas which is really important for the culture and for the people. And I think that you are doing the right thing. And I think that you will be very successful in the United States here. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, I am Alfred Henderson, and I serve as the Executive Vice President of Access Florida Finance. So I have two quick questions. Who knows of somebody that needs capital to start a business? Okay. Who knows someone who does not have a business plan, does not have any financing, and just has a dream of starting a business? Well, I am your guide today. At Access Florida, I have the extreme privilege of serving and creating small businesses in the African American community and in the small business community. So please do not leave today without getting my card.
Good morning. I'm Pam Tedesco, and I'm currently serving as the exec for the Florida Black Business Support Corporation. And formally today, we will also announce the National Black Business Support Corporation. You'll hear a lot more from me later, so I'll leave it there.
Hello, my name is Teresa Okochukwu. I'm from Gainesville, Florida, originally from Nigeria. I am the president of African Network Television. We go by ANTV Network. I am excited to be here, and I'm very, very thankful to Jean to grant me the opportunity to be with all these awesome people. I'm going to be speaking later, and you will get to know more and hear more about ANTV. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, folks. I'm Hank Harris. If you see me, you see Gene, or if you see Gene, you see me. I came into the Black Chamber. Yeah, I came into the Black Chamber business through National, and we have an affiliation that has now transferred itself into tourism development. So a lot of what's said about tourism development or my ideas about the blessing of being able to walk into Pensacola and learn how to do the business. And we're just happy to have you guys here today. There's a lot of stuff to give you to look at.
Stand up.
Air Force.
Hank Harris is the president and director of the National Black Tourism Corporation, which we helped to develop together. But he's your sponsor for this meeting today, so when you eat, burp for him.
Good morning. I'm Isabel. I'm from Benin.
Benin.
Near from Nigeria. It's my very first time in USA, in Pensacola also. I'm working in National Agency of Tourism of Benin with Natalie. We are here to promote Benin. And she will tell you what our projects. Really love to meet you and to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Natalie Blanc. With my colleague, we work at the National Agency for Heritage and Tourism in Benin, and we're very happy to be here to share with you all, I guess we have the opportunity to do so, what Benin has in store for the years ahead in terms of tourism development and promoting the country as a heritage place in Africa, in West Africa.
Good, salute.
I gave her extra, y'all. She didn't pay for it either. Very good.
Okay, so I'm in charge at the agency. I'm in charge of culture and heritage promotion. And the agency was created last year by the newly elected president of Benin, Patrice Talon, in order to reveal what Benin has to offer to the world in terms of rich history and culture. We truly believe that Benin is a condensed version of Africa because in Benin, the visitors have the opportunity to have safaris, to delve into the rich culture and rich history of the kings and queens, and see how the kingdom of Dahomey in Benin has expanded throughout the years until becoming one of the richest and most prominent kingdom in the time before slave trade. And so we're here to talk about what the country has to offer in terms of culinary, in terms of art, because we have amazing and very well-known contemporary artists, and also to reveal the history of the enslaved people. Because as you may know, in Ouida, which is a city in the south shore of Benin, Ouida was one of the largest slave ports at the time of the transatlantic slave trade. And the idea of the president is to reveal what the country has to, what went through the country during that slave period. And in Ouida, the visitors will be able to make a pilgrimage along the slave route. So I could go on.
And you're gonna need some what? You're gonna need some people to do it?
Absolutely, because we're here on a needs assessment tour, because in order to craft the right kind of experience for all Afro-descendants or any other people who are interested in knowing more about the history, we are here touring the United States. 3 weeks ago, I was in Brazil, so the idea is to go in all countries where there are large populations of Afro-descendants, and to have a very in-depth conversation with them in order to know what are their expectations and what kind of experience that they want to leave when they'll be in Benin. And so we need to know all the questions that they have in order to bring the responses and when they'll come to visit us. And that's what I'm here to do. Yeah. So I'll be glad to hear all about what you're curious to know about, because it is of utmost importance for us, because we'll take that information and start working at home in order to craft that type of experience.
Amen.
Benin is very much looking forward to reuniting with sisters and brothers.
And Africa. I'm Pan-Africa.
My name is Kitty Pope, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And for one thing, I really assisted Natalie with the survey on your interest in what you want to do if you were to travel to Benin. So you can see me about doing the survey, and I would appreciate if each and every one would do the survey. I'll give you the website to the survey. Okay, so my company is African Diaspora Tourism, and it's an online magazine that explores the culture and heritage of people of African descent around the globe. And I met Eugene Franklin on the internet. We have the same interests, exploring culture and heritage tourism. And I'm also the founder of the International Association for Black Travel Writers. We have travel writers around the globe, especially in the places of the African diaspora. So I also connect the African diaspora or Pan-African to Africa to explore the history and the history of that. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Colin Charles. I'm an entrepreneur and a professional real estate unlimited thought process about any idea. So people bring all sorts of things to me, and they might bring their problem, and I just solve it, you know. So I stay busy. I drive around all over the place. Wherever you call me, you got an issue or problem, I come out there and try to create a solution for it, you know. And I met Gene through Pam, who was at a conference promoting the money lending program that they have. And I asked her, I said, you know, how many people know about this? Because it didn't seem like I had heard about it. And she says, you know, well, you know, we tried, but not a lot of people know about it, you know. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to start sharing with people, you know. And, you know, within a month or two, you know, I just brought so many people applications and they got approved and got money going on. You know, I didn't even realize how big it is, a job it is, because a lot of people that need this money have no skills in terms of putting together business plans, financial packages. So I would sit there all night long, 4 or 5 hours, just doing it for them, even though I didn't know it myself, but I Googled it, I put it together, you know. So I just believe in, we can do whatever we want to do, and, you know, stop saying I don't know, and I'm not sure, just do it. That's my mom.
Where you from?
That one. Where you from? Well, I've been around. I was born in London, England, and then I did my growing up and education in Brooklyn, and then I moved to the Caribbean, and so I currently live between Gainesville, Florida, and Antigua, and that's what sort of gives me this unlimited view of the world, because I see all different types of places and how people make things happen. So there's no boundaries and no no's for me. Just do it. All right. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Mitchell. I'm the president of the Alabama State Black Chamber of Commerce, located in Birmingham, Alabama. Of course, everybody knows Birmingham, Alabama, the cradle of the Civil Rights Movement, home of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, newly designated under the Obama administration National Park designation. Very happy to be here, and Gene and I have been friends for a long time. In fact, Gene is the one that got me into trouble with this chamber business. I was minding my own business, and we had a local chamber, and so about I'm gonna say about 10 years ago, we had a national convention, and Gene and this other friend of ours in Illinois, they said, hey, Jerry, you need to do a state chamber, move out from just a local chamber. And I was like, well, Gene, you know, it's hard enough dealing with folks just in this one little city, going all over the state. So they coached me. So Gene is really like a mentor and a big brother to me. And Gene doesn't know, but he's going to be speaking at our conference, and I want to invite all of you. I want to invite all of you to our conference in Birmingham on June 22nd and 23rd. Be a great opportunity for you to check out the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute and other things that we have in our city. And I'm very glad to be here. I've already met some people that I want to be in contact with. My good friend Colin here, he's coming to Birmingham to talk about some real estate transactions. I'm definitely going to get with my sisters from Benin. Birmingham is 73% population-wise. And I'm interested in the African TV network, and getting citizenship hands as well as it. So I'm certainly looking forward to meeting all of you, and let's do some business together. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. Morning. My name is Bo Moultrie. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And you know, there are some things in your life that, you know, you're traveling, there's things they call change agents. And I happened to walk in an office, you know, full of dreams of making $1 million, and I walked into Gene. And he was my change agent. You know, but there's a lot of good lessons that we talked about, and it was frustrating at first because it wasn't about money. And I was like, well, I'm trying to get paid, man. Come on, that's what we're talking about. I'm trying to get money. But after a while, you begin to see, you know, kind of as the impact he had, where you see where his heart is at and what he's trying to achieve. And the things I learned at that time with Gene were more valuable than money, and I still use them now. I'm with Crossing & Company. We do all the Publix, groceries, Anchor-owned shopping centers. and I have about 30 shopping centers and a couple office developments. And so, you know, a lot of the stuff that we learned back then, Gene, thank you for that, is just valuable stuff. And he's a great mentor, a great giver, a great teacher. And in a way, I've replicated that what he does with the students. I was the first African-American chamber of the Real Estate Society at Florida State University. So I have students that intern with me, and we're just passing on the knowledge that was forwarded to me and doing what we can to make things go and help other people. So I'm happy to be here, and I've met some phenomenal people. Colin, I'm glad you have those epiphanies about saying no's and such. It's pretty awesome. I don't know where you got that from.
I'm Williams. I'm here from Orlando, Kissimmee, Florida. I'm an attorney, and I'm also board of the Black Business Support Corporation, thereby being my connection with Gene, Pam, and Alfred. We're glad to be here today. I'm counsel to Millennium Sports Management. I actually came down here, if any of you are familiar with the Orlando area, Reunion. That was our baby project, and that's what brought me here. But more importantly, I'm here because of Gene Franklin, his vision, and I believe in support. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Leon King with K1 Financial Solutions. We're a Jacksonville, Florida-based financial services company. Our mission is to support small businesses secure the capital that they need to run, sustain, and grow their businesses. As you all know, capital is lifeblood of an organization, and we represent about 300 lenders, from startups to venture capitalists. And so we have not only the network, but we have also the skills to be able to put a package together and get you funded. I met Gene through Pam, and I've been working with Access Florida and Black Business Financing for a number of years. And I refer deals to them, and they refer the people that they can't help to me. And we have just a unique working relationship. And I'm excited about being part of their national program that they're launching, to be able to take the lending and the capital funds provision program, not only from a local Florida base to a national and international base, to be able to make sure that people who are undercapitalized can get the funding that they need, because the only way we're going to grow and sustain a foothold in the community is through access to capital and the ability to be able to acquire it when we need it, and to be able to reinvest it in the community, thus creating jobs and opportunities, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. Thank you.
Amen.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Dee Jackson from the big city of Greenville, Florida.
All
I'm here representing Gaston County Board of County Commissioners, and recently I launched a nonprofit called Community Impact Partners. It's an organization geared at education, economic opportunities, job opportunities for our community. I'm here with Ms. Carolyn Ford. She's an amazing woman, and I'm just her sponge. I'm soaking up as much as I can from her so that I can follow in her footsteps and provide power for our communities, because I do believe that that's the first step for economic empowerment.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm supposed to be retired.
I hear you.
But since I met Gene Franklin, I think I was the first chairman of the Florida Black Chamber. We live in a little place called Gaston County. It's the last county, it's the only county in the state of Florida that is majority African American.
That's right.
And I think coming out of retirement, I was doing something. I met Gene Franklin. How long have you been doing? 15, 20 years? And he got me on a different path. Maybe not a different path, but I think the right path. And he always called me an ambassador, Sunday school teacher. And because this thing that we're doing is gotta be spiritual, we gotta come from the soul to do what we need to do to be involved. He sent me out into the wild blue yonder and down in the Tampa area with this vision. And I was able to form didn't know anything about chambers, but put me out there. And I formed the Tampa St. Pete Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. So it's been going pretty strong for the last 3 years. And now it's doing quite well because the vision where everything is housed is a corporate structure. And I organize this particular chamber around a community structure. How you get people to participate and to be the master of their own faith. In other words, showing them how to build wealth in your own community. Trying to teach them how to be producers rather than consumers. And it's been a journey. What I have done is changed my whole view about this world that we live in. And let me just go back. You know, one of the things I do, the charity begins at home. So I started, ended up being on the tourist development board, you know, looking at how we can bring our folks back and take pride in what we're doing. I'm also on the Gadsden County Economic Development Council. Then you kind of move out of the county pretty much. I'm part of the women movement, because you know men, you can't do anything. She has all this vision, it's the women that push the movement. And it's the truth, isn't it? So here, I had to write a few things down because if I am a community organizer and a community developer, and I have been the executive director of North Florida Education Development Corporation for the last 25 years. We build multi-housing, recap wellness center. We do a lot of things in terms of, because it's community-based, so whatever the board says, that's what I have to do. So they're moving in housing development now into business development, because like Dee said, if you want to grow a community, it has to be around housing and business development. That's how you do it. And that's how you get started. So other things come together. So what we're doing now in Gadsden County, we're trying to create a food economy. And we're going to do that around culture and roots. All right. And and it's moving forward. It's moving forward in that direction. And how do we do that? We're going to do that through networking. I'm all up in Georgia and Atlanta. I'm on the board of a foundation called Southern Partner Fund. I'm on a board of directors called Lord List. I've been heard of those folks before. But you got to be able to stretch out, and it takes a lot of work and time. But you got to do that in order to make sure that you're able to carry out this, your mission and your goals. Now, in this movement, I think I pretty much said everything. I pulled out this little card here because this is the Tampa St. Pete Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And on it says the executive leadership team. And it say president. And it say CEO. You see the difference? So the kind of leadership Gene are talking about, because that's what it's leadership. You're going to have leadership. You're going to do something different than corporate. I'm sorry, Frank, but corporate. Different than corporate America. It's about the community.
Yeah.
And when it even comes to politics, all politics are local.
Yes.
And that's where you
Yes.
have change. You talk about a change agent. That's where you get the change. It's local, then from home, then you spread to the state, and you spread out. And pretty much, that's pretty much all I need to say. The other thing is, if you see this little Coleco right there, the logo, if you look on the back of your thing, this is where Gene set the down in the deep. That's his face. That's our history. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about that as we move forward today. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Albert Collins, and I believe in achieving the impossible. In spite of odds and situations and circumstances of life, because I too have been a recipient of Gene's mortgage company. You know, I went and I had this big dream to build a house. I went and got the plans first. And I was introduced to him, and I said, okay, I need to build this house. He said, you've done this wrong. What do you mean? You're supposed to get the money first, then you know how much you can build. I said, no, this is the house. This is what I want to build for my family. And true enough, it has came to fruition, and I thank God for that. And as God has blessed me, it's opened up my eyes to understand it's not about me. Because I believe in achieving the impossible, not just for today, but for tomorrow. For our young minds, for our young hearts, for our young ingenuities. And there's a man standing on the wall. I believe you got to call it like you see it, on both sides of the fence. So in moving forward, I understand that we got to work together. It's not about one, but it's about us. God bless you.
Amen. If I had time, the first thing I would share with you is what I promised God I would do. Amen. And that is just simply that God has saved me from death.
Amen.
Last year and a half. So I'll just share that as a segue to a testimony.
That's right.
I'll share with anyone that would give me the time. I promised God I would do that. So, but when the gentleman made the comment about Eugene, amen, it just gave me some assurance about what I already know about Eugene. But he kind of stumbled me when he said he went from kind of hell to heaven. But only God can do that. Amen. So that gave me some assurance. I'm a product of Escambia County School System. I'm born and raised here, 20 years active duty Army. Returned back home for something greater than myself. And I thank God that one of the hats that He has trusted me with is to be a called servant of God, a preacher. Lawrence Power is my name. And then a couple of years ago, He put a vision in my heart and trusted me with something else. And that is to be a mentor and an educator, amen, to boys that are at risk. We founded Iron Sharpens Iron Christian Academy this academic year. Amen. And God has shown approval of what we're doing and that we have tripled our enrollment going into next year. Amen. These are all boys, all male instructors. Because most of our boys lack the pictorial image of a man of God and just a man, period, in the household. So the school is designed to meet them where they are, with the first, most premium attribute that we can offer anything to our young folks, and that's love. Sometimes we have to be able to meet them where they are and love them through where they are, that they may become all that God has divinely created them to be. Amen. And that's men of God, kings of God, doing the service of God. So I'm delighted to be in here. One of the prayers I have every morning since God has saved me, Lord, I don't want to be anywhere where your presence is not. Amen. And I declare that I feel the presence of the Lord in this place. God bless you.
Good morning. I'm Dawn from St. Dawnberg from Sanford, Florida, and I'm with Access Florida Finance.
Hey, Don.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Eleanor Johnson, and
presently I work with families to preserve families and child welfare, but I'm also an arts advocate, and I'm a product of the opportunities that Coleman A. Young gave us in Detroit in the 70s and the 80s. And that was to soar your dream. So I had a business in Detroit serving dance and performing arts, providing space for artists to develop their skills. And I am also a product of the Chamber's first-time home buyers program. I did achieve that at the Chamber, and business leadership workshops that they provided. Now I am a big advocate, and I am seeking expertise to continue with my business, arts and health. And I am a big advocate. I believe that people need to preserve our culture as well as preserve your health. And we need to move more, and we need to help preserve our families. I also want to say that through the bicentennial celebration in Mobile, Alabama, I was invited by the Minister of Cultural Affairs in Benin, and I performed for them. And he pulled me to the side and he says, "I've never seen an African American combine their culture with our culture." So I am a big advocate in preserving our culture and in enhancing our families and our health and education. I am really, really disappointed in the education that our children are being exposed to. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, but the first speaker's supposed to be on at 9. You can advocate in private, okay? Please try to help me get us there on time. Except for him, because he's a fat goat. Tell him about fat goats. Tell him about fat goats.
Hello, good morning.
Tell him about
Everybody,
fat
good
goats.
morning. Thank you, I will.
I'm a fat goat.
I will. My name is Victor Chimeze Okrochukwu from Nigeria. At one time, we saw that CNN ran a story about Africa. Of course, any story connected with Africa. And they don't know how to tell a story. They always tell it their own way. And their own way is not always right. So we said, well, we have to tell our own story. No one can tell it better than us, our culture. Okay? One thing is, remember the time of Ebola that happened in some West African countries? But it doesn't matter. If you're coming from any African country, immediately you arrive at JF Kennedy Airport, they quarantine you somewhere. Where are you coming from? Africa. Oh, Ebola. Even if when you go to work, if you're working for a company and you happen to go, let's say, Zambia, this thing happened in West Africa and Guinea, okay? So if you travel to Zambia or Malawi and you arrive at airport, all they do is, you come in, where did you go? Your vacation. This is the person you've been going to lunch with and everything. They're sitting with you. You didn't say, oh, I just came from Africa. Oh my goodness! Ebola. So what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is African Network Television is here to stay, to tell our own story, to promote our culture, to promote our food, to promote our lifestyle, and everything about Africa. Because we know that we can do it better than anyone else. And again, there's a popular saying in Africa that one hand cannot kill a fly. Try to kill a fly with one hand. You can't. But when you use two hands, you kill a fly. So what you see here are both hands. Individual people here have been trying to kill a fly, but they couldn't. They ran into Gene. And what did Gene do? He brought another hand. And together, what happened? They killed a fly. Also, no one can check his wristwatch with a mirror. You don't need a mirror. What do you need? You just look at it. When you're checking your time, you don't need a mirror. You look at it. So I know when we ran into Eugene that he is the right man with the right vision, just like ours. So together, like two hands, we kill a fly. Now about the fat goat you're talking about. There's a saying in Africa that a fat meat, if you are very, you know, it is very common to, if you know how to roast a meat, you know, meat on the fire. You know that when you roast the meat in the naked fire, burning fire, okay, when the fire burns the fat meat, the fat dissolves and falls into the fire. And what happens? It makes its own what? Fire. So the fat meat makes fire for itself. In other words, you're going to be asking me, what is this guy talking about, fat meat? What is fat meat got to do with this? What I'm talking about is good minds. When two or more good minds are put together, they make a great progress for themselves. Amen? Amen. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Phyllis Gray Ray, and I'm first on the screen, so you'll
Yeah,
hear me in
y'all
a
hold
minute.
me up.
That's okay. It's good to hear about everybody. I am originally from Beaufort, South Carolina, one of the two Gullah girls here. And I met Jean through this young lady, Miss Arnie Griffin Evans, who we'll talk to you in a minute. And instantly, Jean became a big brother and a mentor, a father, and everything else to me. And so I'll talk to you more about what I do during my time. And for sake of time, I'm going to pass the mic.
Hi, I am Sonia Griffin Evans, artist and previous owner of the Gumbo Gallery here in Pensacola. And I'll say the rest later.
Good morning. I'm Maddie Broxton. I'm here on a couple of avenues, but I've been known Gene Franklin when he first came to Pensacola. We became souls together. But I'm here not only for the church part, but because God gave me another vision after 30 years, and I said, Lord, I don't need anything else, and he laughed at me. So I have Restoring the Village, Reconnecting Generation. It is building from the past, getting our seniors more active in our community, because that's where we're going to build from, reconnecting our young people and our young adults, because we didn't allow them to stand on our shoulders, so now they're falling by the wayside, and it's our fault. So we've got to go back and regain what God has entrusted to us. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And I want to take this time to welcome you to the city of Pensacola. My name is Eddie Todd. I'm the principal of Eddie Todd Architects, but I'm also the president of the Belmont Village Neighborhood Association. And if you have time, we hope you can make time, and just take a tour of the neighborhood. You will see an area that was once downtrodden that has now made 180-degree turns. Right. And it is a vital part of this revitalization that this city is going through. And as you will find that Gene and others will tell you, it is a us. It is not one individual or even two individuals. It is all of us. There has been a number of people working together to revitalize the neighborhood. So again, I want to keep us moving forward as Gene has asked. Welcome. Hope you enjoy your time here. Please come back and visit. If there's anything we can share or offer in terms of advice or input, we'll be more than happy to. Thank you.
That's quite a different environment.
They had to drag
Me too. Actually, I ended up graduating from Linda University. I started off with Xavier. Well, I left and I got married previously in military travel, so I ended up in school. The first school that took me and finished in medical and respiratory.
Make sure you know these big
ever since, but we need to get out of it. It's a great career for the young. You can only do so much hard work on the floor for so many years. You need to have a plan, an exit plan. And I do have an exit plan. Well, she ended up with an exit plan at some point because it's a very physical job. I mean, what she's doing is actually, she's somebody comes in and class for you. It doesn't matter how you feel, you're on. It's a I've been sitting on top of the for years. Just gave my card. Yeah, you know that. Your name again? You gotta write something.
My brothers, my sisters, my fellow leaders, nothing I do is original. I borrowed it from somebody. That's the beauty of knowledge, because it's meant to be shared. Knowledge. Each and every one of you were invited because a little bit of you is in me. And some of you, I got fat on. That makes sense? Now, I tried to have where we can have a discussion. But what we're about is cultural economics. Chinatown model? Anybody here like Chinatown? Well, I sure like someday when we can have Negro bills and nobody. Does that make sense? Because that's how economics. Economics is a byproduct of culture. Every culture has the right to sustain itself through economics, the sales and redistribution of products that service its culture. Chinatown is a great model. Chinese are not going to be walking up and down the street talking about give us something. This communities are a cluster like a mall that self-sustains itself. Now, they don't care if you don't want their food. Guess what? They do. But they know that their products, when packaged, is art, food, and music. Art, food, and music. That somebody on the outside gonna come. We had that at one time in Belmont de Villas. It was a package, self-contained. The dollars recirculate. They created jobs and opportunity, and we didn't have to worry about Pookie Man going to jail. We did. And he knew how to act when he came in public because the culture was contained. Does that make sense? Now, in today's economy, that has dissipated, but what we can do is recreate that element using technology, but we first have to remember our culture and our history. One of the key points that I appropriated from a friend of mine named Villard Houston is, and I want you to remember this, you got to know your history.
That's right.
You got to know your history. If you do not know your history, then you are lost. You are lost. You are lost. You are lost. If you do not appreciate your culture, and the culture is the essence when you look at other people, culture. Opera? How many of y'all do opera? Okay. Symphony? What is that on our side of the equation? You got to look for those elements. Okay? You understand? You got to look for those elements. We have to maintain them, appreciate them, and support them. Holy Trinity. Art, food, music. Cornerstone that you build culture, you build business around. If you do not reinsert that into the community, the Holy Trinity, you have a hard time attracting business and attracting. The key is somebody has to want to come to you and appreciate your culture. So what we're doing here today is giving us all an understanding, hopefully, of what is our culture, what is our history. And this title up here, the African American experience, is where it begins. Now there's another part there. What does that say? Real? All right, we got some issues there. Okay, so I went out and found, I think, the perfect person. She needs to be short and non-threatening. So you listen to her. She needed to be somebody highly respected in the academia community. She needed to be somebody that when you look at her, you just love her. You just can't help it. But let me tell you, behind that, don't mess with her. And on top, she'll preach his kid. I'll let her introduce herself because it's how a person sees themselves that's important. Other than me putting her in a box. I don't want to put none of you in a box. Amen. But I'm hoping that with the spirit that you hopefully feel here, it will touch you that you can say the things that are in your heart and not just on your resume. Amen. Amen. My fellow leaders, I present to you Dr. Phyllis Gray Ray.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am actually 5'1".
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And I am very, very happy to be here this morning. I will spend just a little bit of time trying to do the impossible, and that is to discuss the African American experience, real and imagined, in what Jeannie has given me as 30 minutes. I am currently a professor and the chairperson of the Department of Sociology and Criminal Justice at the Florida A&M University in Florida's capital city of Tallahassee. On behalf of Tallahassee, I would like to bring some sunshine to Pensacola, as well as some warmer degrees. So the room is already warm, and I like the opportunity that I had to get to know who you are as well. As I take you through my book and through this journey, it is all about who we are. On May 8th of this month, I would have been teaching about this topic for 30 years. Wow. Of course, I started at age 5. That's all right. Originally from Beaufort, South Carolina, I like to consider myself an original Gullah Geechee girl. And I'd like to just kind of take some time this morning and talk to you about who I am, through what I've done, through my work, and through what you've done. Hopefully you can emphasize with some of the things that I'm going to describe, and also to hopefully leave some time for question and answer. And I don't know what time it is, but whatever time it is, I'm sure Jean will tell me when to shut up. And I'm assisted this morning by someone that I'm very, very proud of, 2 people actually. One of my former students who I introduced sociology to. You've already met him, Ms. Henderson, right? And Ms. Paula Adams-Lippert has probably already handed you a flyer, and you've already met her. Okay. You all ready to start?
Yes.
All right, well, let's get this party started. And as a professor, I do move around. That's why I asked Jean to let me like this. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you, and hopefully y'all can still hear me well.
Yes.
Okay. Without a doubt, from the very beginning and right up to the present, blacks have suffered from a culturally and legally enforced oppression in the United States of America. That's all right. We all know that. That's right. Today, blacks still remain one of the most disadvantaged minority groups in the country. Thus, the main purpose of my presentation is to briefly broaden your understanding of the black experience, particularly in the United States multicultural society. The Pan-African Cultural Heritage Institute, Incorporated,
Yes.
of which I direct for Jean's organization, celebrates the cultural and connectivity of the people of the African diaspora. All of us. The African diaspora being defined as people of African descent. All of us who live as cultural and national communities in Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and North America. All of us. As you will see in a few minutes, we are all Africans, no matter the color of our skin. The Institute was created in honor of the life of the first person of African descent to set foot on North American soil. He's already been introduced. I think Dr. Ford may have mentioned it. Estevanico, who was born in Azamor, Morocco. I believe you've got some pictures of him. The Institute was founded to serve the global diaspora, with its focus being the sharing of knowledge. And this is what I do for a living. I share knowledge. For economic business and community development. The Leadership Academy is an integral part of the Institute. The goal of this program is to reinforce the Institute's mission of creating cultural ambassadors for the world and to develop leaders characterized with unique cultural leadership skills. The Institute, the Leadership Academy, focuses on teaching that next generation, not just us, but those who will come behind us. And next generation could be any generation that comes behind the first generation above them. Okay? Of leaders from a cultural perspective and using proven historical and cultural experiences as a teaching foundation. The Leadership Academy inspires and prepares others to appreciate theirs and other cultures and to accept responsibilities in doing so, and to seek out opportunities.
I am so sorry.
That will make their community and the world a better place. The Leadership Academy's seminar curriculum will primarily be based on my current book, which you have a flyer of. From Imagining to Understanding the African American Experience, which was published in 2012, which was my introduction to the Reverend Eugene Franklin via my little first cousin's daughter, the son of Griffin Evans. Okay? So, since that time, I have been using this book formally in my class of a similar title, The Sociology of the Black Experience. And I came across the idea of putting my own book together because as a professor for over 30 years, I have been looking for that right book to teach this class the way I wanted to be taught. That book did not exist. And so when something does not exist that we need, what do? Create it. We create it. And so this is the book. Okay? Make sure that Henderson has a copy of the actual book itself. Okay. That book started out at about 500 to 700 pages, and it is now roughly about 200. The other 400 or 500 pages are stored in my head. Okay. The main purpose of this book is to aid individuals in developing something in sociology known as sociological imaginations, and to broaden your understanding of the sociology of the Black experience, particularly in this country. Although one book cannot provide the total experience of the Black diaspora, that's all of us again, this book provides a unique sociological, social, psychological exploration of the African American experience and how it has been specifically impacted by culprits such as slavery and racism, two evils that nobody wants to discuss. One's the elephant in the room, the other is the giraffe in the yard. The reality of slavery and racism is deeply threaded throughout the fabric of the current state of African Americans, and this threading is what needs to be understood. Blacks are still one of the most disadvantaged minority groups in the nation. We're second now in numbers, but if they had really gone into our neighborhoods and into our hoods, that statistic may not put us second. We may still really be first. You know, we all like talking to people and giving information randomly like that. So I'll begin with what Jean has asked me to do. Because race still matters in this country.
Yeah.
I think you all know that very clearly now with the alternative facts and some other things. In this country, every section of this book explores the sociological impact of slavery and racism on the experiences of Black Americans. Moreover, this book provides a solid presentation of the different phases of the Black experiences in American society. As the book moves through each phase, beginning with the institution of slavery itself, and it was an institution, it is now still an institution known as the American penal system. It explores the impact of slavery and racism on major social institutions and social problems of Black life, like the family, education, crime, etc., right up to the present, to show how a life of slavery has impacted every aspect of the Black experience in America. Thus, understanding slavery provides the foundation for understanding Black Americans and therefore understanding Americans. Thank you very much.
We'd like to take and thank you for your outstanding presentation. And so we have something that we'd like to present to you for the deep appreciation of what you've done for our organization and what you're doing for our team. You've been with us for a while, and you've done a lot to help us out over the years. And we really appreciate that. And we appreciate it a lot. Probably more than you know. Okay.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
Thank you
So
very much.
what do you have? Well, open it up. Open it up. Go ahead, give it to Frank.
Okay. So we'd like to present you this award. It's our Chairman's Award that we presented to you for your outstanding support. And again, we deeply appreciate everything you've done for our team and the things that you're going to do in the future for our team as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice traveling case.
Thank you all.
I'm about to introduce, when we say, now you've had the foundation, there's a two-part to our initiative, which we'll discuss later when we wrap this up. The intent was to give you the information and then show you how you make gumbo with it. And then here we're talking about how can I create a program. Well, let me back up. Something we didn't say. Frank and I engineers. Okay, we problem solve is all we care about. What we're showing you is the background information to which you will learn how we solve problems, okay? So we create systems. It's like creating train tracks, and then now you've got the track, you got to get the train, and then now what we're going to put on the train, and then how we going to make our money so we can continue to survive step by step. The issues that you heard with Dr. Gray are issues. They are real. They are real. If you're in America and you have melanin, they're real. We'll psychologically have issues that don't make sense, like to Pam, my friend, okay? And we're trying to make sure we can connect. See, we can talk about issues and ask questions because our relationship has developed. And us who in the military, we had to address it, huh? We have to deal with race and issue has to be addressed. I can't give you a gun and say, follow me. up the hill where we all gonna get killed. You may not decide you want to get killed. You understand? That's the philosophy. So whatever issues could be, we had to solve it. We have to form relationship with people not of our culture, because the culture of the military is diverse people from everywhere, social background, everything, and when they put and say I do, they instantaneously become your brother. Whatever shortcomings they got, they instantly became your responsibility, and your job is to help them. Everybody who came in got a sponsor or a C-daddy. I got a C-daddy as soon as I stepped on in. Come in, he gonna show you what to do, gonna take care of you. Hey, what about your wife? What about your kids? The whole system is designed. That's the way our community used to be. So I stayed 27 years. Why? Because it was family. And everybody was my brother, and we all came from different backgrounds. My son, Gary Eugene, I cursed him with my name, Gary Eugene Franklin. Gary is named after a white guy. I named him, whose grandfather was the Grand Dragon of the North Carolina Ku Klux Klan. And we were roommates. And when I was in 3 years, they made us roommates. I walked in with all my Afro-centric music, and I heard country and western, and in the back wall was a big rebel flag on his side of the room. Clash of cultures.
Amen.
I cried when he left the command. Unashamedly. I named my son after him because of the friendship that developed. I didn't have to tell him to take the rebel flag down. He came down. I didn't have to mention certain things. But we shared experiences, and I loved him. And to the day, I think about him. We met, we were enlisted, then I became an officer. And at Naval Air Station, New Orleans, I checked in one day, and there was Gary. He was senior to me, and now I'm an officer, and he's a first class, he said. And I look at him, and he's standing with his wife, and we recognize each other, and we in the personnel, and we hug. An enlisted man and an officer. Used to be, when I came in, the opposite of positions. His wife said, so you're real. He always talks about you. And they had the little boy. And I said, hey, what's his name? He said, Eugene. True story. True story. Okay? Clash of cultures that cross each other. That cross each other. Understanding each other. We have a problem to connect because we think a certain way as African Americans. We have a way of thinking. It's totally different than what Africans think. Oh, see, there's a smile over here. You tell the truth, huh? You don't understand this stuff. This stuff is foreign. See, there's a difference. It's different than the Caribbean culture and what they think. And so we think something wrong with them. Because they don't think like us. Okay, come on. We think, in many cases, something wrong with them. They're inferior, and we are superior. Now guess what? Who is inferior, who is superior? Okay? In the thinking of thinking. So in our approach of going and promoting Pan-Africanism, boy, some of y'all acting a fool when I talk about Pan-Africanism. Ain't that right, man? Acting a fool. What's that? Oh, we ain't Africa, we're Africa about all the clashes and understanding and the identity. But let me tell you something about being the head of the Florida Black Chamber. Once I get my butt on 75 and 95, okay, I leave y'all at 10. As you go further south, you better understand they don't care about not speaking your English. They speak their native tongues. And they're in all around. And their cultures are different and they celebrate them and they don't care what you think. It's different. Florida is the most diverse state when it comes to people of African descent. It is an untapped resource if we celebrated and packaged the different cultures that come out. They don't think race. Race is not the issue to them. Their nationality and their heritage is more important than race. Race is a thing of coding that came out of civil rights and slave thing. But their culture is. I'm from New Orleans. Louisiana to some of y'all. But guess what? Culture, we celebrate. Food, we celebrate. You know, the cultural exchanges, especially Haitian brothers and that, where they took us out because they were scared of the uprising and put us in Haiti and brought the Haitians over because of the fear of uprising. Our cultures intermixed. Our foods are so similar. We have a French culture mix that is driven by African culture. It's different. It's a place. It's one of the places that's rich in its history, that is infused with other cultures. But when you go there, yeah, man, everybody got it. But everybody is welcome. It's the true gumbo pot. And all the African cultures, whatever it is intermixed in that culture. It's exportable. You can take it and export it. We can get rid of a species if you want. Give us lionfish. Let us teach you how to blacken it. Everybody buy it and you won't have no more blackened lionfish. We did it to redfish. Huh? We did it. We get a chef on there and the chef will magnify them lionfish and be flying to New York, Detroit, and everywhere else, all overseas, and with a certain spice on it that's Louisiana. You won't have it anymore. That's the power of culture in marketing. We're about marketing, advertising, promoting, and selling of our culture. All of them in its diversity is marketing, advertising, promotion, and selling of our culture and our heritage. And there's no better place to do it than with African Network Television. ANTV. ANTV is something special, but it has the power to do something for our culture, to create jobs, wealth, and opportunity in our community, and it's being grown right here in Florida. And I'm going to now introduce you to Miss Teresa Okorochu.
This mic works, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Jean. It is an honor. It is amazing to be before you today. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. So excited to talk to everyone after the event, because networking, you can't go wrong with that. Thank you so much. My name is Teresa Okorochu. As introduced, I'm a mom and a wife. But what I want you to remember me of is I'm kind of different. That's how I see myself. I have a very close relationship with God. And I'm really, really close to Him, and He's closer to me than anybody else in my family. So that's really neat. Amen. And that comes with a price. Because sometimes I might do things that may not make sense in the natural, but I do them anyway, because I know my steps are ordered for divine purpose. Yes. I thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we're going to talk about ANTV, not really about me, so we'll save my story for some other time. So we're going to talk about ANTV, and we're also going to talk about Africa as a whole, because
If you really care about prosperity or doing good or cultural economics, you have to count Africa. You have to include it. There are a lot that is going on over there, so I'm going to devote most of the talk to Africa. A little bit of the talk to ANTV, because ANTV is here in Florida, so you get it all the time. But Africa, we're going to talk more, because a lot of people don't know much about it. So ANTV, we're launched in Gainesville, Florida. We've been around now for 3 years. And as far as what we stand for, it's really the legacy of a heritage and the culture. So it's a combination. You taking who you are, driving strength from what makes you unique, and using that to connect with everybody so that they can understand you. And that's really the purpose of ANTV as far as in the heritage. ANTV is a global media platform that is really focused on African affairs and also showcasing the accomplishment. There are so many accomplishments of Africans themselves and other people of African descent that you otherwise wouldn't know of. ANTV bridged the media gap on Africa, because I mean, there are a lot of media out there, but you have to understand everybody is there for business, and people are going to do whatever is going to, at the end of the day, get them business. If talking about Africa doesn't really increase that business goal, why would you put your time there? So it's left for Africans themselves and people of African descent to be the one to focus on using what they already have and maximizing that potential. It's really time to start engaging and re-engage in educating the world about Africa and the people of African descent. Because for so long, we have waited for names to be given to us. And anytime you don't give yourself a name and you're waiting for somebody to give you a name, a lot of times it's not going to be in your best interest. So ANTV is there to actually tell Africa as it is to everybody, educate a lot of people who they don't know much about it. Africa has its challenges, but it also has some prospects. So that's what ANTV is there for. Showcase everything, have a serious conversation on what needs to improve and what is already there. We're also there to showcase Africa's role on the global future. Literally, China is everywhere in African continent. It's right now described as China's second continent. And we're here not realizing that so much is going on. And the only way to do better than you're doing today is either, if you're already doing good, there's always room to grow. And the only way to grow from doing good already is to try something new. Add something to what you're already doing. You go the next step. And that next step, meaning we have to look beyond the boundary, because we are, for the most part, maxed out in a lot of things. Not unless you kind of come up with a new invention that is maybe how I can fly home from here just with wings. Other than that, a lot of things are already kind of maxed out. So you have to look for where the demands are. If you're making light bulbs, you want to find places where they don't have electricity in their home. So there are a lot of markets that are untapped and resources that are not used at all, that are very accessible, but people don't know how to get in. So part of what ANTV is there to do is to widen global market, so that people can have access. It's really a global media, and it's really neat because the world is shrinking. You can sit here right now and sell things to somebody in my village back home. So internet is, I'm going to talk about internet later on, but that is the best tool, the best gift that has ever been given to us. And if you're in business and you have internet, sky is the limit to what you can do. Even with a smallest amount of resources. So that's part of what NTV is set to do. Expose people from where they are to other opportunities that are out there. So really our motto is ANTV, simple. And that means A stands for always positive messaging. I tell people, because when we started this, they're like, are you sure you want to do media? It's really, who are you going to compete with? These people have money and all of that. You can't even, you don't have a chance. But we have a chance because we're going to do exactly what they're not doing. We're going to find out what is missing, and that's what we're going to target. And what is missing in the media is positive message. Every time you turn on news, it's going to be negative, and that's all you hear. So people are really craving for something nice. For example, Victor had put it was just like a less than 30 seconds video, and it was clips of pictures, and the pictures were cities in Africa. So we put pictures of cities in Africa, put music with it, and post it. It went viral. People were crazy. It was like, this is Africa that we never know it existed. People were so much all over it. The comments were unbelievable. That clip reached millions of people. And that tells you that there is hunger for something good. And that is also, the part of that purpose is to empower the next generation. Because some African Americans would comment in that video, and they were saying things that are very, very empowering, very touching, and very rewarding for starting something like this. Because what you want the next generation to remember and to know, you want to empower them. You want to tell them, show them achievements of the heritage. You don't want them to run away from who they are. Rather, you want to empower them. Show them the good stuff about Africa. Show them the good stuff about African Americans that are already here. And that's what we're going to focus on, the achievements, the good things, the empowering messages. We're going to leave the negative news and messaging for the media, and they're already there and they're doing it. We don't want to compete. People have good news to report, they call us. They have bad news to report, they call them. And that's how it's going to be. And
that's all right.
So the end is new peace and prosperity. Basically, we believe that when you create jobs, when people do good, when people are prosperous, when they're thriving, you have peace. If you like peace, then helping people to achieve self-reliance, to be able to find something to do, and that's really part of what Jean is doing. Because when you have a business idea and you don't have resources, but you know you can make a difference. I have to tell you, ANTV actually benefited from the organization as well. They gave us loans. So you have idea, you wanted to do something, you don't have resources, but you know you have the gift, you have the calling. God gave you this vision, and it's going to make a difference in people's lives. You're about to change thousands of people's lives. How can you do it? You can only do it if somebody can give you a helping hand. Anytime you help somebody achieve prosperity or achieve success, you created peace. You have contributed in peace. And that's part of what we are here to. We're going to create jobs every corner of the earth, because it's a global business. So everywhere we are, we're going to create jobs. But it starts right here in Florida, because this is the home we know. And we're very thankful to Florida, because we couldn't get it. We couldn't, elsewhere we can't start. There's no way for this to go on. So the T is for United Progress, and that's really the way, part of what we, in as much as we are rebranding and introducing Africa to everybody, we are also rebranding America. So the United Progress is really about the U.S. Because we feel like we need to reintroduce America to Americans themselves, as well as to the rest of the world. So that's part of what we're there to do. America is really, you wouldn't know unless you've been elsewhere. So I grew up in Nigeria. Like I said, I'm not talking about myself today, but I have to tell you, if there is a place next to heaven, it's really here in America. So we want to focus on the progress that the country has made. We're going to highlight them constantly. I was able to go to school at UF. When I was first admitted to the school, my husband couldn't come because he didn't find a job initially. So I had to be at school with my kids, at the time 2 of them, and the oldest one was like 2.5. The youngest one was a year. And I was in a professional family program. And my professor at the time didn't look like me color-wise or anything, but he would babysit my kids while I take exams. Because exams are in the evening time. I didn't have a place to, nobody to watch my kids or anything. So he would babysit them while I take exams. There are so many things. I could write a book about good people and the amazing things people have done to me and to other people that I knew. So we want to focus on showing all of those things, because what I do know is there are so many good things going on. There are still bad, we can't deny bad things that are going on, but we definitely want the bad person to know that they are left alone. They're the minority, they're not the majority. They are isolated. Everybody else is already doing good. They need to start seeing that. So why the rest of the media are going to focus on the bad news, we're going to always focus on what's going on and what is good. And that's how we would empower people. We be the voice for the good, and that's really summed it up. We're going to always find out those individuals that are doing extraordinary things that nobody cares about or nobody is recognizing. We're going to recognize them and we empower them. And that's how somebody else will copy doing good. And that's how the good will spread. And NTV is Africa's first and only global TV network. I mean, they have a different television network, but we are the only one that is everywhere. Multi-platform, so we are on every platform from the IPTV to currently we are in the process of securing satellite distribution. We're only placed for all persons of African descent. There are several television networks there that you would have. Some for like a place like Bounce TV or TV One is for African American, and then there are some for Africans, but there's really none for everyone. And again, we don't divide, because the more you unite, the more you get a place that is central for everybody, that's when you can really get things done. So this network is for all persons of African descent. We are negotiating distribution to the Caribbean currently. There are so many exciting things going on. We have license to broadcast in some African countries. It's really neat. It's very, very neat, especially for the message we want to give. We believe that we can make a difference in this world. You're just doing what we are called to do. We already have footprints in over 190 countries. I mean, NTV is exclusive and it's also inclusive. How can you manage to have both? So it's exclusive to all persons of African descent. And it's really inclusive because if you want to learn about a black culture, about African American, about Africa itself, everybody, if you travel or anything you want to learn, that's where you go. So whether you're white or black or Hispanic, you will have something that can appeal to you. Because when you talk about culture, heritage, people will come. And that's what we're very, very inclusive as well. Really cultural empowerment is the way to go. I mean, NTV, we reach African Americans, Africans in Africa because we broadcast to them. African immigrants will be the ones here, or Europe or elsewhere, Afro-Caribbean. Online community, you can't go wrong with that. It's really the big thing that anybody that care about business needs to make sure they're good on their online skills. Place for foreign investors, because the thing with Africa, the opportunities are endless. The opportunities are so much. The return of your investment is really high, but you have to know where to go. You have to have a way to get in. It's a very complex place. NTV is a ministry. Please know that now. It's a ministry that we're doing because that's what we believe we're called to do. The difference between us and charity organization is we pay taxes. Really, is a ministry. And that's the reason why we're here. Thank you so much.
Hank? Don't you have something? Now, we're going to save questions to after lunch, because I got to get food out. If you You gonna stay, you ain't going nowhere. You a Pensacolian now,
Exactly.
isn't she? She's America's first settlement now.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, we have something for you and Mr. here.
I appreciate it.
Come on, fat goat. Come on, you can't take the picture. Somebody take the picture for the fat goat. Yeah, real fat goat. Okay. I'm proud to announce that African Network Television is getting the Estevanico Award for 2017 Sponsor of the Year. Now, they don't just talk, they put their money where their mouth is. Now, I gotta tell you, we don't talk about money, but when they partnered, what's different? When they partnered, they said, what's your top rate? We're gonna give you the money. They did not want to come in because they didn't want to look like they were getting something for nothing. Now, we weren't even ready yet to push for sponsors, okay? Now, we have not taken advantage or used any of that money because it's about integrity. So it's a two-sided street. But I move that it's almost like the Holy Grail money, that for the first time we have somebody that is willing to put their money where their mouth was as a organization or a company. Those are the merits. So Victor and Teresa, we are honored to present you with the Estevanico Award for Sponsor of the Year. What we're about to hear from is my good buddy, Miss Allison Davenport, and we go way back, way back, way back. And once you hear the story, she's a local here, but from a Birmingham region. But she's a part of us, and when you hear the story that she's about to tell, you will understand why she's a part of us. Amen? Amen.
Okay, guys, thank you, Gene, for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
I consider Gene my mentor, my dear friend, and most definitely my brother and soulmate in Christ.
Amen.
And Miss Sonia is my sister. And several years ago, in fact, I would like to say it's just coming up on 9 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Eugene and Sonia. And our paths crossed, no question, purposefully. There's no doubt in my mind that the things that I'm going to share with you today were to have happened one way or the other by some soul or another. It just so happens that this soul happened to be bumping into that one. And I'm so grateful for that, because if I've said this a time or two, but if not one more good thing ever comes out of my life, I feel like a very good thing came out of my life.
Amen.
And what that is back in the 2010 area, I guess, my only child was about 14 years old, and I lived, worked, and raised my family on Perdido Key. And along the way, I became very active in the Chamber of Commerce in Perdido Key. I became the chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce of Perdido Key. And it opened my eyes to a number of things that I probably would have liked not to have them open to. But it also gave me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Well, along the way, I had heard the story over the years of why Johnson Beach was called Johnson Beach, but it didn't really resonate with me. I actually worked in the real estate industry, and I worked with a group of people that were involved in putting a monument out there in the 90s. And vaguely I remembered hearing some things about it was named for a fallen soldier. I remember the great big sign that used to be on the state roadway that said Rosamond Johnson Beach, and it pointed in that direction. I spent lots of hours walking, running, playing on Johnson Beach, even strolled my baby on Johnson Beach. And when I really heard the story and understood that Rosamond Johnson Beach was named for him because he was 15 years old. This was a beach that he and his family and many, many other families enjoyed during the days of segregation. It was one of the only free beaches available for the black community to enjoy. And it was nothing short of the most magnificent stretch of beach. And I consider that one of those little gifts that even in the attempts to restrict the spirit, the prettiest beach in our area, perhaps one of the prettiest beaches on earth, was in fact the beach that was provided for the black community. Well, when I learned about this, and I learned that he had enlisted in the Army at 15, now remember my daughter was about 14 at this time, he enlisted in the Army, he went to Korea, and he fought in the Korean War, and he was killed in action when he was actually had been he had rescued 2 of his fallen comrades and was going for a 3rd. He was 17 years old. This story just penetrated my heart, looking at my 14-year-old daughter and imagining the thought, that my child could even conceive of something like enlisting in the military to protect our nation. 2, that he was going to serve a nation that didn't serve him. And that this mother, this precious mother, gets the news that her baby child is no longer with us. And that his name had over time very, very quietly disappeared from the signage. It no longer said Rosamond Johnson Beach. It said, there actually had a little bitty sign that said Johnson Beach. And it was about that high, and it pointed in one direction. And the monument in the 90s had been put in what I considered a very disrespectful location. It was behind, it's behind the bathrooms at Johnson Beach, and it was only if you knew it was there would you go to see it. It was sitting amongst sand spurs and all kinds of things that made it uncomfortable even if you wanted to go see it. So, long about this time, I'm not really sure how, except there was an event that one of my fellow chamber people wanting to put on for children that would include the state park and the National Seashore. And she knew that I had learned the story and had been really, really talking about what could we do? What could we do to bring this picture to the forefront? Because I came from Birmingham, Alabama. It has a really, really, really thick history, lots and lots of heritage. Lots of it's not pretty. But what I know is that I know where I came from. I know who I am. And I realized that in a community like Perdido Key, where much of the population is all centered around beach balls and floats and, just having a good time, that the idea that true history was right under our nose, and our kids didn't know it, and they couldn't cherish it, they couldn't go back and hold on to it. And so I thought, what can we do to make it possible for every single kid that goes to Escambia County schools, or every kid that grows up in this area, to know? And more importantly, when I learned, thanks to Mr. Franklin, that Mrs. Johnson was still living. She was living in the house where that boy grew up. And she lives there today. She's 100 years old.
Wow.
And Sonia and Jean said, do you want to meet her? I was like, what? And they arranged a meeting for me to go to Mrs. Johnson's house. And at the time, all of Rosamond's siblings were still living. He had two full brother and sister, blood brother and sister, and then half brothers. And I was able to meet every one of them, along with a number of other family members, because guess what? I really stuck out in that living room. I stuck out in that living room to the extent that I could see the hurt. I could see the hurt in those people's eyes, because people like me had taken that sign down. People like me didn't care that sign wasn't there anymore. People like me had put a monument by that, made a big to-do about it when they did, and never came back. A little flash in the pan, a little sprinkle of something, probably to make them feel good. Really nothing about what the real meaning was. And what I've said to them is that I really do understand that I'm sitting here, a little white girl from Birmingham, Alabama, and what the heck is happening? I can appreciate that being your view, but I don't know. And I said that to them. I don't know why I'm here. I just can promise you this. To the extent the story can be told about Rosamond Johnson, and to the extent that I am capable in any effort that I can make, that story will be told, and it won't be forgotten. Well, it actually took, quote, an act of Congress for that first little celebration. And I'm not even kidding. First little celebration that we put on, which was the first Saturday in May in 2010. And if you don't remember, we had to take all the people of school out in the Gulf. And the Monday after this service is the day they predicted that the oil would be on our beaches. That day, we had color guard, we had a bugler, we had the superintendent of parks speak. We had various people come and speak about what Rosamond Johnson had done and what it meant. And more importantly in my mind was that there was a trail between Johnson's Beach and Belmont and DeVillers, and that if we could learn to bind ourselves back to that history and that culture, that we could be a really strong community regardless of who the politicians were, regardless of what's going on in the news. If we got to know each other and we bound ourselves together, we could have strength in that. Well, as it turns out, the second year that we had this event, seemed like it was a good idea to come here too. We had a little bit more activity. Sonia was our artist who created the most beautiful invitations for us, and we have a portrait that was done by one of the artists from Belmont and DeVillers that is a portrait of Rosamond, and it's at the service every year. And that year, the park superintendent came up after the event and said, house, and I'm ashamed. My predecessor made you get a permit for this? That'll never happen again. Wow. We're going to be here to help you. And I said, that's wonderful, thank you so much. Well, as time went on that year, he said, can you tell me some things that you might like to do? And of course, clandestinely, my buddy and I had been over there talking about what would our dreams be? What do we want? What's the picture of this? And some of the things we talked about was, boy, we sure would like that monument to be moved someplace where people might see it. And gosh, it'd be really nice if when they saw it, they really got a sense of what this was really all about. You know, if we want to get really crazy, we like his name on the front of that sign. Well, we got some other things on the list too, but fast forward to now. The Park Service put Rosamond Johnson's name on the front of the National Park sign. It's on the arrow sign. It's just like every other national park that you go to in our country that has significance, and his name is there. I have never been so thrilled in my life, and Mrs. Johnson lived to see it. That was that is one of the things that's like, if I told her in her living room, and I'll tell her every chance I can, as long as I can draw a breath, if I can help your son's story be told and for him to get the appropriate recognition for his service, then I will do whatever I can do. I'll ask anybody that I have to ask. If I get no, that's okay. I was the baby in the family, and guess what? My big brother and sister always said, Mom and Dad never let me do that. And I say, did you ask? And they said, well, no. Well, how do you know? They'd say, well, I just know. I said, well, I'm going to ask. The worst thing that could happen is somebody could say no to me. So with that, I have to say, last year, not only did the Park Service say, we're going to help you every way we can, they said, let's meet throughout the course of the year, because the National Park Service really wants to take a major role in this event. Well, that's kind of interesting, because, you know, they're part of the Department of the Interior. You know, they're kind of up there. And we met, and they quizzed me, and it was interesting because we sat in that meeting and they were looking down at me and saying, I don't understand why you have to have an invitation for this event. Why you do this invitation? How do you come up with the list of who gets an invitation? And I said, well, you remember before we started doing this, Mr. Johnson's name wasn't on that sign. I said, yes. And you remember that nobody really noticed that his name had disappeared. Yes. I said, well, you know, if we post something in the newspaper, or we have a public service announcement, or we do whatever, I guess that people could maybe just not see it. Maybe they do see it. But if they get a really nice invitation that's addressed to them, and they have to actually open it and see it, they know that we know that they do. And that way, and they're like, oh, so it's a little bit about language. It is a lot about language. And it's about elegantly leveraging the fact that I know, and you know, and that you know, and what are you going to do about it? So, I'll give you an example. This year, the National Park Service did the invitation, and they paid for the postage. Isn't that beautiful? And this year, the Global Learning Academy is one of the schools in our district. And I rang them up and said, you know, this was one of our brain skull sessions in our meetings, is we'd really like kids, you know, ultimately children, to learn about this in school so that they have some of this piece of history to hold on to. No matter where they go in the world, they'll still have this lesson that they could learn about somebody within their community that did something extraordinary. An ordinary person doing extraordinary things. And they said, wow, well, you know, the Park Service really likes fourth grade. Fourth grade is our deal. That's what we like. Education and so forth. We'd love to get involved in that. So we contacted Global Learning Academy, and the lady that answered the phone said, oh my gosh, I love Johnson Beach. I just love Johnson Beach. Can I spearhead this? And I texted her a few days later and said, have y'all gotten together? Have you decided what you're going to do? She said, it was just like a flurry that came back. Well, we're going to have an essay contest. We're going to have an art contest. And would it be okay if the chorus sang at the event? I said, that's great. She said, we'd like it to be district-wide, but this year we'll just maybe start with our school. So that's exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to have a chorus of children, and the Park Service is paying for their transportation because many of those families. And each of the participants will get one of these.
Wow. Oh, wow.
In my office and my company is a just amazing culture of love, and each year they do an award ceremony, and they gave us these beautiful medals this year, and they attach all kinds of things depending on, you know, how good or how not good you were. But I looked at that and I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so cool if we could do something like that for the kids. And what would that look like? And so this medal has an image of Private Johnson on the front of it. And then on the back it has a brief description of who he is, what he did, where he came from, and that the park is named for him. And each of those children will have one of these for having participated in the program. I suspect that we will have a lot more participants in the future. A little sneaky. So anyway, this was, the Park Service said, oh, let us do that. I will reimburse you for that. I said, this is a gift from me. This is a gift from me. So I just want you to know that from the time we had to beg for even the least little bit of publicity to please, please, please somebody notice that something good's going on over here. This was in the paper this week. That's the front page of the Pensacola News Journal. And it says, National Park Service wants to do more to honor Korean War vet. Amen. They want to put his name at the top of the sign. So basically, I'm here to say that that none of what I just said has anything to do with me. It has to do with listening to your heart. It has to do with recognizing something, and when something all of a sudden hits you, if you will follow it, it might take you places you never knew you could go.
Yes.
You'll meet people you would have never met. And then you have a life that's well lived and worth living.
Sonia, come on up. It's appropriate, I think, that with the work that you did, that you participated in this. Sometimes we say superlatives, okay? When you meet people that's got a calling on their life, it just makes you just want to jump in and help. Now you see these two gentlemen down here, they all see this here, they all have agreed to be just part of the Johnson Beach Society, didn't y'all? Didn't y'all? See? All the best up in here, Johnson Beach Society, right? Okay, yeah, see how easy that is? And we're going to fight to get him something more than a Purple Heart. We're going to fight to get him something more than a Purple Heart. Because he saved 2 people's lives and was killed on the 3rd one, but all he got was a Purple Heart. Does that sound anything? Yeah, we need to be working. They say they can't find his records because it's burned down. But we need to do something about that, huh?
That's what they told me until I found him.
Thank you. I'm in struggle. Okay. Okay. Do we have another colonel back there? Okay, you have a colonel back there. You see how birth takes place of an idea? Well, after discussions here, we had a meeting, and we decided to name you and give you the Estevanico Person of the Year Award because of the story you just told and the tenacity that you work. So we are honored to present this to you so that you can have something to know that from our community, we appreciate the work that you have done because God gave you something and you carried it through, and I think that you've done an outstanding job, and we are proud to be your friends. And this is your new family.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I certainly didn't expect to anything like that because I honestly mean it when I say that this is the best thing that's happened in my life so far. And if it's the last good thing that happens, it's good.
Well, here's your special sister, because y'all gonna need her. Your people gonna need her. It's about access to capital. And I won't steal her thunder, but she got some of her little children here. Okay, Alfred, look just like her. Just like her. Oh man, where'd Don go? Okay, where did Don go? Oh, okay, we won't point out she went to the bathroom. So, at this time, my brothers and my sisters, I introduce to you a phenomenal businesswoman, organizer, and activist, and a woman who is inspired by the Spirit. I've never met anybody like her. First time I met her, I was serving on her board, and I was fascinated by what this woman could do. And if you're around, she can talk to you, be typing, and have a perfectly produced document with statistics on another, and you be going, how did she do that? And then you want to look at it and say, oh, I know she don't make some mistake, but she don't. I give to you Miss Pam Tedesco of Access Florida Finance, and she will be introducing our national venture. God bless you.
Today has been amazing for me. It's just been amazing for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. And Sonia's not here, but you know how we're connected to the arts, and for me, I'm very musically connected. not because I can carry a tune, but because it just really touches me spiritually. And all I keep thinking about all day today, and right as I was getting ready to come up here, is one of my favorite songs from Sesame Street. You know that song, One of These Things Is Not Like the Others? I feel like we've taken a left turn in the programming, and hi, I'm Pam. I don't have this wonderful, wonderful, touching, passionate story about my background, what I've done, the kid. We're going to talk money and finance, okay? It's still good. It's still good. But what is important is that I do have passion for what I do. And it's really interesting. My kids, sometimes when you get really mired down into the muck of work, you don't really see what it is that you're doing. It took my kids, beautiful young adults, who just stepped back and looked at me and said, Mom, you're really changing lives. What? You're providing people money that they need to start their businesses, to employ other people, to create wealth, to create future opportunities. You're really doing something that's impacting people. I'm like, oh, and I thought I was just underwriting loans. So it really is exciting to do what we have the opportunity to do. So I'm going to start at the very top and explain to you about one of the loan programs that the organization that I'm affiliated with, the Florida Black Business Support Corporation, and we do business as Access Florida Finance. As Jean had mentioned, we first crossed paths about 2006 when I was with a local economic development organization, and he served on our board of advisors. And those of us who know Gene know that he is the master puppeteer. And asked me a couple of years later if I would sit on the board that he's the chairman for, the Florida Black Business Support Corporation. We all know nobody here says no to Gene. So we did that, and a couple of years ago, our exec at the time left for greener pastures, and Gene just looked at me and said, now you know why you went on the board. Come on, we need you to step up. So still trying to understand the definition of the word interim. Here we are.
You're in.
22 months later, I am still the interim president of the Florida Black Business Support Corporation. But it's been a tremendous, tremendous opportunity, and really, really excited about what we do. So I'll just go in a little bit and tell you who we are. As I said, we do business in the state of Florida as Access Florida Finance Corporation. We've been around since the late 1980s, and so coming up on about 30 years. We are an economic development organization that focuses on providing access to capital and technical assistance to businesses, primarily right now in the state of Florida. A couple minutes from now, I'll tell you how we're going to expand that footprint. By looking at job creation, and we currently serve as a loan administrator for a state through the Black Business Loan Program in administering those funds. So about that program, we have money. Yeah. Alfred asked people to raise their hands earlier. Anybody know a business person, you a business person that needs access to capital? Talk to us. Alfred, please raise your hand. Alfred, Dawn, talk to us. We would love the opportunity to see how we can be of assistance by providing capital to you. Through the Black Business Loan Program, these are the requirements in order to be eligible for funding. The business has to be located in Florida. The ownership has to be at least 51% by Black Floridians, and an owner is a Florida resident. The industry, gosh, this is horrible. I mean, there's such passion about arts and everything else in here. The interest rate but the interest rates really are, I think, pretty competitive. The interest rates on a federal level have just gone up a couple times, but our interest rates to our loan clients are in the area of about 6.5% to 8.5%, depending on credit history, credit scores, collateral for the secured loans, and there's a myriad of things that we look at. We have to prove, according to state statute, that the loan is economically sound. The program itself was set up by state statute in 1988 And it is specifically designed to recognize the fact that African Americans have historically been shut out of the traditional commercial lending market.
Yes.
The state of Florida wants to do something about that. We are going to look at the same criteria as a traditional lender is going to look at. We're going to look at your credit score. We're going to look at your credit history. We're going to look at collateral. We're going to look at the strength of your business plan, your financials, tax records, and things like that. However, with a traditional commercial lender, their bar is going to be set at one level. Our board of directors, understanding the intent of the state statute that created this loan program, we're going to set our standard at a different level. We are here specifically to help business owners who cannot get funding in the traditional commercial market achieve the capital they need to start their business, to grow their business, expand their business, create the jobs, create the wealth in their communities. Then we also have to demonstrate, obviously, that the goal of the program, and we like to say this, is to graduate our businesses from our lending program to get to them to the point where they can be bankable in the commercial market. So right now, based on our funding, our current loan threshold that our board of directors, and he's gone. I was going to introduce. Pardon?
He's coming back.
Oh, he's coming back. Okay, come on back. To introduce, Gene is obviously the chairman of our board. We do have another one of our board members here, Lawrence Williams, so when he's back, I'll introduce you to him. But our board, based on recommendation of my evaluation of our finances, currently $50,000 is the highest end loan that we're looking at right now. Although with board discretion, we can entertain loans higher than that. Minimum credit score requirement of 600. I think if you had a 600, Bank of America would talk to you.
No.
Regions and Trustmark, I mean.
No.
600 with a clean credit history for the past 24 months. Now we know that there are going to be some people who have issues with their credit reports for further back. We're going to look, as I said, we're going to look at everything that a traditional commercial lender is going to look at, but we're going to have dialogue with our applicants and talk to me. In fact, I was literally just on the phone earlier this week with someone who pulled their credit report, and credit score isn't quite where we need it to be, and there were some issues, but everything on that credit report looked like there was something significant that happened in 2014. Hey, talk to me about this. What happened? I see something really clear happening. Well, he went on, he explained it. I'm like, okay, put that in writing. Let me know that. That will be taken into account when we review that. Let's talk about your credit since that issue. So while we will look at the entire credit report, it's really the past 24 months that we're most interested in the evaluation process. For our secured loans, we do have a 60% loan-to-value ratio that's required. And documentation under the Black Business Loan Program, as I said, we're going to look at everything that a traditional commercial lender is going to look at. So we're going to ask our businesses to submit a business plan. We need 3 years of tax returns, financial statements from the business, as well as cash flow projections. Everybody's caught on the money. Do you remember the other part of our mission? Access to capital and marketing is the thing the business needs, but technical assistance. Technical assistance. You know, we deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I gotta tell you, I am so excited. That's one of the coolest parts about my job, is to travel the state and to talk with people who have amazing ideas and passions for what they're doing. It's so interesting to see the diversity of the businesses and industries across the state. You're great at making widgets, but you don't know what a balance sheet is. And we see that pretty regularly, you know, with our clients. They're great at what they know, the core of their business, but the business management side may not be there. So we provide a lot of technical assistance, and we work with our partners at SCORE, the Small Business Development Network, or with Colin, who reaches out and helps businesses to understand. We want to make sure that they're getting off on the most solid footing that they can be. If they don't understand the finances of their own business, how are they going to be successful long term? They really need to understand that. So we'll work with them to make sure that they get the documentation that they need. And Colin, you are amazing with the loan applicants that you work with on our behalf. Thank you. For most of our loans, the term is going to be right around 5 years for the larger loans up to $50,000. But I will say that our board is wonderfully flexible and provides us the opportunity to work with our clients to say, what works for you? We're going to look at your finances, we're going to look at your cash flow projections, and ultimately we want you to be successful. So we're not going to burden you with a loan repayment schedule that's going to drive you out of business. We want you to be successful, so we'll negotiate the terms of the loan as to, on a case-by-case basis. We also have, those are our secured loans. We also have microloans. How many startup businesses just need some money landscaping? If I had one more trailer, I could get another mower, I could hire 2 more people, I could double my business, but I just need that $5,000 to get the equipment. And you can double your business, that's an easy thing. So we provide microloans up to $10,000. These are unsecured. So there's no collateral that's required. For these, because there's no collateral and they're unsecured, the credit score requirement is a little bit higher at 625, again with a clean credit history for the past 24 months. This is the paperwork that's required for unsecured microloans. Complete the application. We've got a narrative. We don't require a full business plan, just a real quick narrative about your company. Tell us who you are, what you do, where the loan repayment is going to come from. Send us your financial statements. If you're registered to do business in the state of Florida, we can find you on SunBiz. That's it. That's it. The term on these is typically 36 months. And for those people with, I can tell you right now, only because we do this all the time, that's about $313.36 a month. Thereabouts, give and take. What can the funds be used for? I think it would be a lot easier if we redid this slide and said, what can the funds not be used for? So we'll tell you that. You ready? You can't use the funds for any kind of political or lobbying or religious activity, and you can't use the funds to repay existing debt. I'm done. Anything else? You need to buy real estate. You need to buy more equipment. You just need working capital. You need cash flow so that you can hire your painters so that you can fulfill that contract and get paid. Working capital. To find information about our loan programs, this is what our website looks like. We're right at accessfloridafinance.com, and in that center menu button, you're going to see our programs and the Black Business Loan Program. Again, you'll see the 2 different sides. We call them internally our full BBLP versus the unsecured microloans. So anything up to $10,000 or $10,000 and more. The applications are online. All of the lending criteria is online. Everything that you need is online, but you don't have to do it all yourself. Dawn, Alfred, we can help. Give us a call. Here's some tips if you're interested in applying for a loan or passing things on to somebody else. Make sure that you're applying for the right program. One of the big tip-offs for us is if a business comes to us, and believe it or not, we will have businesses that come to us and say, I need $250,000. Well, they have no collateral. We can't write a loan for $250,000. Okay, $10,000 will work. That's called a flag. How is $10,000 going to work if you really need $250,000? Make sure that you're applying for the right program. Know what it is that your business needs. This one's easy. Fill out the application completely. You would be amazed at how long it takes us to get complete applications. We are intentionally trying to be nosy into your business. Every single thing that is asked for in our application, we truly need. So if we ask the question, please provide an answer. Provide the supporting documentation that we ask for. No more, no less. You provide less than that, we're going to have to keep coming back for more information. You provide more than that to us, we're required to read it, which means we are required to ask you what questions come up from that. So just give us what's listed on the application that you need. So how long does it take to turn these loans around? For the unsecured microloans, it's about 3 days. It's about 3 days. Again, that's an application, current financial statements, are you registered to do business in SunBiz? State through a new one at us this year. Proof of liability insurance. And I'm missing one. Oh, the business narrative. That's it. we can review all of that, pull the credit report, do what we need to do, and get that turned around in literally a couple days. For loans up to $50,000, it's a more significant underwriting process, so we need about 7 to 10 business days to get those done. If we do entertain a loan that's greater than $50,000, it's much more entailed. We have a loan review committee, our board, that gets involved in reviewing that, so it's going to take a couple weeks beyond that. The majority of our paperwork is all done electronically. We serve the entire state of Florida. Our office is located in Tallahassee, so we do the majority of everything by email and process our loan documents through DocuSign electronically. And when everything is said and done, we just wire the funds directly into the account, so you don't have to wait on a check. Currently, this is where we're sitting right now. We have a loan portfolio of just over $3 million spread across 84 clients. And when I say we're across the state of Florida, we are here in Pensacola, we are in Miami. We are all the way down through everywhere. Thank you, Colin. We're very heavily in Gainesville, too. So how much do we have available that's just sitting, saying, use me, use me, use me? Anybody want to talk to us? Come talk to us. This is money that the state has entrusted with us to help serve the community across the state of Florida. At our current bank interest rates, it's earning about $4 a month. But that's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to help you. It's meant to help the business community across the state of Florida. Help us get this into the hands of the qualified businesses who are creating those jobs, who are creating that wealth, who are creating a difference for themselves, their families, and their communities. That's what we're here to do. Here's our contact information. Our headquarters again are in Tallahassee. We do have separate phone numbers for the Florida, so if you are specifically interested in talking about the Black Business Loan Program and getting access to capital for a Florida-based business, please call the office at that top number. And then the bottom number is the additional number for our national program, if we can be of service to you in that area. You've got my contact information here. Substitute out alfred.henderson, dawn.burke@Access Florida Finance, and you've got our team. We are here, ready and waiting to help you. And I do also want to recognize Leon King, who's in the room here, as he was introducing himself this morning. Is another one of our funding partners. We work in tandem. He brings loan referrals to us that meet our funding programs. If we can't fund people, whether they, wherever they come from, we refer them back to Leon. So it's a great partnership, and Leon has agreed to help us with our national initiative. So we appreciate you stepping up for that. Thank you.
My brothers and my sisters, if there was one thing I learned about power, I'm a real man. I learned about power, real power. He wasn't in the Army, wasn't in the Navy, wasn't Marine, Coast Guard, or anything. One of the byproducts of culture is art. Most powerful tool. You heard it this morning in the great dissertation from somebody that being able to articulate to us about some things that are important to us. That are in our soul. You're going to hear from someone about the power of art and how it frames and recaptures in search of a culture, not just any kind of art. Cultural arts. The branding of cultural heritage arts is something that we did out of the villas. We went there to do research. And the only tool we could take was art. And we wanted to find out what would happen in an area that where nobody wanted to come, cast away. Everybody was mad at me because I'm going down there and there's a preacher. You ain't got no business being down there. Next thing you're going to find out he on drugs and he all this other stuff. What are you doing in the bunny club and trying to put gospel in the bunny club? What kind of preacher is he? Okay, you understand? Oh, Lord have mercy. Y'all don't know. Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. Lord, what is here just a shame to the traditions and the custom.
Traditions.
I found a preacher with a pallet. I found a preacher with a pallet who was not scared to hear from an old man and had gifts that we could use to rebrand our culture and tell the story by a picture. A piece of art that came through the spirit that worked its way through his hands and through a palette on drawn away material like wood that we cast to the side. And she took the colors and brought that wood back to life, and it speaks to our soul. I give you artist Sonia Griffin Evans.
But I really have to say real quick, I said, who was he talking about? Yeah. Well, you know, I always said, in order to know where you are going, you have to know where you come from.
That's right.
And in Gullah dialect, we say, I am a Gullah Geechee artist, born and raised in Beaufort, South Carolina. And the one thing we say, if you ain't know where you come from, you ain't know where you're going. So we have to know where we come from in order to know where we're going. So I started painting, actually, and I have to tell this really quick. I started painting in 2005 for therapy. I was going through a bout with depression, so much so to where I was going to take my life. But God said, I have something so much more for you than that. And so when I hear and when I read, going through the valley of the shadows of death, I understand that. And it makes you stronger because you realize that you are not alone. So you don't have to fear. If he tells you to do it, if he gives you the vision, he will make the provisions for it. So, I ain't gonna preach to you though. But, so I went all the way back to the door of no return. And that was the last door that the Africans saw before they were boarded onto those slave ships. Being stripped of everything they know, their culture, their heritage, even their identity. And so I use my artwork. You know, the Lord says, I gave you this gift for a reason, for a purpose. So I didn't give you the art just to be beautiful, just to line your pockets. It's to help the captives be set free. It is to change the hearts of men. And also, when I thought about it, and when our ancestors came here, they didn't say, I want you to follow this line and do it like they showed a picture and say, can you build this? They say, yep, I can build that. So it's vision. You have to see the vision. So I thought about that moment in time and what that must have been like. So because in order for me to tell their stories, I have to understand their journey. And so that moment of walking through the door, it says, the door of no return may lead to pain, hurt, and sorrow. And as far as the eyes can see, there seems to be no hope or tomorrow. But with each step that you take, you pray that you're not alone, often being paralyzed with fear of knowing only the unknown. And as you stand there being stripped of all your hopes and dreams, even your identity, but still believing in your heart that one day you'll be free. And after all you've been through, you're still yet alive, leaving the world to often marvel and wonder how you could have ever survived. But you survived because you were not alone. You were chosen. The best came. You were chosen for that moment and for that time, just like us. We are chosen for this exact moment in time to be here to do exactly what we're doing. And so as my ancestors walked through that door, so I try to take the artwork and bring it to life. I always tell people, I say when I go somewhere and I learn the history and you go to museums but I say, thou art, when you go there, we bring it to life. So when we open the door, we raise Lazarus through those doors. We're raising those communities. We have to make people reconnect back with their ancestry, their heritage, but more importantly, to dig deep down inside ourselves and connect to the perseverance of our ancestors, their ability to overcome like our ancestors. See, we are a product of our ancestors. We are their dreams. We are, like President Obama said, we are the people that we have been waiting for. So that's why I create these doors. And I try to make them as realistic as I possibly can because I want you to reach out at any moment and open that door. It's action, not talk, but action that changes the world. So once my ancestors came here, they went through the door of arrival. And I have to tell you, I just recently went to France to exhibit my artwork in France. And one of the cities that I went to was called Nantes, France. Nantes, France. And Nantes, France was one of the largest slave port cities in France. Had over 500,000 Africans brought through that slave port, headed for the Americas. And they have a monument dedicated right in the middle of downtown. You go underground and it's like a ship. And they have the words, the translation, everything is in English and French, so you can truly understand. And while I was there, someone told me, they say, oh, French people, they speak English. Well, when I got to France, I couldn't find a soul who spoke English. And so I said at that moment, I had a glimpse of what my ancestors may have been thinking. Because here they are in a world where they could not understand, or may not understand. So the door of arrival, it says, it was a long, hard journey, and we finally arrived. But along the way, so many have died. Now strangers in a strange land, we wonder what's coming next. We fear the worst, but still hoping for the best. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Help us, dear Lord. Please hear our cry. 'Cause now all we have left is each other to hold on to. Help us some way, somehow, to make it through. So I listened to that phrase, all we have now is each other to hold on to. And so when Mr. Franklin said, I got a project for you, and we came up with Forgotten Communities. And I told him, and he says, well, see, what I want you to do is I want you to do this. And I said, wait a minute. You don't tell me what to do or what to paint. I said, you don't tell me what to paint. God tells me what to paint. But he also uses people to tell you what to paint. So I learned that. But as I reflected back on, so I says, now here I am in Belmont de Villiers. During a time when the economy was crashing, and I said, okay, you want me to open an art gallery in Belmont de Villiers in this economy? Are you kidding me?
And you can't borrow no money.
And I can't borrow no money. Oh, Lord. But in order to find out if this community could be resurrected through the arts, thou art. It can be resurrected. So as I look back and as I was coming back here, and I was just so, I remember when I opened up that gallery, a little, 600-700 square feet building. right next door to Blue Dot. Anybody know Blue Dot? I know I got some locals in here. And if you don't know about it, you might want to go there and get you a burger before you leave. Yeah, well, you get there early and you call it in. Yeah, call it and knock on it. They let you in there. Yeah. But so Belmont de Villiers was a community that my ancestors, our ancestors, started. It had, I believe, over 60 African American businesses. And I said to myself, I says, during the time when these people started these businesses, it's hard for an African American today in the land of freedom. And just imagine, I says, and I looked at them and I looked at what they accomplished. And so when I went back to that neighborhood, there was that one business that was sitting there still for 40 years, 50 years. Eddie Todd building was still there. And then there was another building, restaurant opening up, and snuggled right in between the two was a vacant building. So there is where that gallery was planted. And so I'm going to go back to what my little visions and dreams at that moment, we had for ourselves. So this is a from whence I came moment. If it plays. Can y'all hear that?
And then also had a flourishing downtown as well. But also, as I looked at Pensacola, I saw the potential in Pensacola. Coming from an area of South Carolina, which is rich in its culture and its heritage, I looked for that here. And of course, there was a door of opportunity for me to use that in Pensacola. It is Belmont de Villiers. And the history of Belmont de Villiers, of course, it was a flourishing African-American business district. And if I could say back in those days, it may not have been called a cultural heritage arts district, but it literally was a cultural heritage arts district. Some of the history of it is that it had lots of entertainers, or most of America's greatest entertainers have performed here. I'm talking people from Louis Armstrong, James Brown, Ike Turner. And so that community for me was Royal Street of New Orleans and Hollywood Walk of Fame, all rolled into one. And I wanted to plant my business there because to me that was fertile ground. And then also we needed a cultural artist assets and also to build upon the foundation of those communities and what their identities are. Stay true to those identities and bring in the culture and the heritage in. What that does is, number one, like he says, it brings tourists into the area, which brings, can bring millions of dollars of revenue and tax dollars into our city. And I says, one city wouldn't want that, And then also, the more that you make it, how can I say this? You make it more appealing to people from the outside as well. They want to come in and invest and find a place where they can build their businesses. And so, I think that that's like my gallery, the Gumbo. It could be that. It's a little bit of everything for everybody. Because I think that we should always keep in mind that when we're developing and we're looking forward to growth in the future, that we have a responsibility as a city for the betterment of the lives of all of its citizens. Seeing that we are a multicultural, diverse city. Oh yeah, Nap Cafe, who is, another leading business in that area. And then of course you have Gumbo Gallery that's kind of snuggled right in between the two. Yes, it is. And so I said, until the businesses come in the development of that community, I said, I'm asking all artists to come out and help occupy that area because you can bring that area back to life through the arts. Plans of how we think things are supposed to happen. But as in that community, as it grows, and it's marketed outside of the area as well. It's actually going to develop and become what it wants to be. Tourist attraction in the U.S. if it uses all of its resources.
And that's it. Using all of our resources. And that's what all these organizations are about. Using all of our resources. And so, and to make these particular communities, make them cultural heritage destinations. And the way that you do that is you bring it back to life first with the art. You know, when I moved back to Beaufort, I now live in Beaufort, South Carolina, and we have what you call the Gullah culture. Anybody here knows what Gullah is? Somebody raise your hand. And there it is. Oh, okay, cousin, you can say it. What's Gullah?
Gullah is our way of life in the Sea Islands of Beaufort, South Carolina, and the whole Gullah corridor of Georgia, Northern Florida, and the Carolinas. And you want to tell them how we say it?
How we say it?
What are we talk about today?
So, but
Do that thing?
oh, I hear what you're talking about over there, yo. But the thing is that with that was a coming from that background where we pride ourselves in preserving our culture and our heritage. And then when I did go into this community, and then when I looked around Pensacola, as an artist, and I'm going to say slash, and a connoisseur of the arts, that says, well, where's the artwork that looked like me? I didn't see it. And I'll never forget one artist told me, and she said to me, I says, I'm looking for artists, that look like me, artwork that looks like me. I said, I went downtown, and I'm going to say this. And she said to me, oh, I don't go down there. They don't want us down there. And I said, what? Don't want you down there. I says, well, honey, where you see negativity, I see a door of opportunity. So where there is none, you get it started. So we opened that gallery, and people came just to hear the stories about their own history, just to see their own history brought to life. I remember someone wrote an article, and this old man, he was about 94 years old, and he said, is this the place where that gallery is going to be? He said, because I don't have many years left, and I want to tell my story. And I says that if you can move a 94-year-old to drive himself down there to tell his story, you're on to something. And so from there, I realized that this was just our research model. So if it can work there, if it can grow there, because after that, oh man, it was cultural heritage everything. Cultural heritage tourism, cultural heritage arts, it was cultural heritage everything. So I said it was like a virus. It catches on, but you want that to happen. In order for things to move, somebody got to catch on fire, right? So I left here, and Pensacola, and the Lord said it's time to go. Time to move. The kingdom of God is at hand. So these are the images, though, I have to tell you, that I started out with. They were basically painted on wood. I said it's a basic building material to help build communities and to help rebuild communities. So just an image of a memory and the name of a neighborhood. That's all it takes. It's a match. It says a community on fire. Well, I'll say this. It make little ants move.